How will Erik ten Hag's Manchester United line up this season? What we're going to do on today's video, I'm going to talk about how Yoro and Xerxes can fit in the squad, what style we want to play, what surprises we may have coming our way, could be anything, how certain players will complement each other, and what I think the starting 11 will be, at least for the first few games, and then how we integrate, players back into the squad and how we move going forward and what the rotational options are going to be. So it's almost like a big, huge preview for this season coming up. But as we know from last season, guys, it's not always easy to predict. We had 60+ injuries and absences. Anything can happen. So nothing is off the table in this show. Make sure you smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's dive into this together. Let's go. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to start off with the players that we have signed so far. So Leny Yoro and Joshua Xerxes, how are they both going to fit into United's system? Obviously, prior to Leny Yoro's injury, it looked like he could, grow into this role very, very quickly. He's a very confident boy, great mentality, quick, good ability on the ball, seems to hold his own physically. He's quite strong for an 18-year-old kid. And due to his pace as well, this has a huge dramatic change on how we would set up. So obviously the way we want to play, high press, proactive, be ready to jump, counter press, and then we have a back line when we have players like Leny Yoro in it that can push further up. And the reason why we can do that is because his ability to defend 1v1 and his ability to cover spaces is fantastic, and sometimes he actually relies on that too much. So him being in the team helps us drastically when in comparison to someone like a Harry Maguire or a Johnny Evans, we could push right up. And you look at last season, one of the biggest issues, we was playing Casemiro and Evans at centre-back. Talk about huge gaps, mistakes being made, no legs in there whatsoever. And there are still some concerns like that in the team at the minute, which we'll talk about towards the end. But Leny Yoro would have offered so much, and the fact that he's picked up this huge injury now for 3 months, it hinders us a lot more than people realise, even though this is an 18-year-old kid that I'm talking about. On the flip side of the coin, Joshua Xerxes is not injured, and he is available to start the season. We don't think he's going to start against City, or maybe not even Fulham. It's going to be a little bit of a slow burner, but someone like Joshua Xerxes is a profile that we did not have in the team. He will drop to feet, he will spin the defender. Players like Rashford and Garnacho are going to benefit hugely from this kind of player being in the team. He's going to create space, he's going to be unselfish, which is also another quality that a lot of our players don't have when you look at Antony, Garnacho and Rashford. So certainly a different profile. For Bologna last season, he had 12 goals and 7 assists in all competitions. So it's not bad at all. If you can replicate that for United, he's bringing quite a bit, as well as a different profile. His work rate and pressing off the ball is another thing as well that I think goes a little bit under the radar. There'd be a reason why ten Hag wants him if he has those qualities. Mason Mount has similar qualities off the ball. The work rate, the way they press, it's intense, and unselfish players are always key cogs in a certain system. So them two players will slot in nicely, but it's going to take time. One, due to an injury, so Yoro's not going to be back until November, but Yoro, I think he will. He'll find a place in this team, and I think he'll be effective. But it's an interesting one to watch. Now, what style do we want to play? That's, one of the biggest questions from all United fans on the planet, and it was one of the biggest questions because of last season. Last season was just ultimate craziness, wasn't it? It was just end to end. Don't care how many shots Brentford or Luton have. Midfield wide open. Just mad. Utter chaos. And I'm hoping it's not going to be that again. But you would say if nothing changes, nothing changes. We're going to be starting off with the same lineup pretty much. So I'm curious to know how we've switched it up. Obviously, you've seen some signs from pre-season. We're going to kind of have this dynamic and fluid playing style, especially in the front five. Building from the back with Onana and Leacher, Yoro when he comes back, and Shaw. Dalot dropping into midfield, or even Delit if he comes into the back line. He's going to help with the build-up because he's decent on the ball. One solo 6, mopping up, doing the screening, covering a lot of the ground, which Casemiro can't do, but that is his so-called job. So that's why we needed Duarte in there. 2 high proactive 8s joining the press and creating chances with quick vertical passes. Wide forwards, drifting inside, creating space for overlapping fullbacks and adding unpredictability to our play. This is what we want to achieve. And replicate on the pitch are 2 completely different things. I think we're hindered in certain positions, and I think this is why it breaks down so much and why we've seen it break down last season, and everyone was calling ten Hag crazy, but when you don't have the profile of the players to do it, it's like, you put McTominay and Fred in Pep's system. Do you think he's going to be playing the same way? Absolutely not. You have to make adjustments in that sense, and I think sometimes he pivoted really well. I think the centre forward, depending on who it is, of course, but if it is Xerxes, like I alluded to before, he's going to drop deep, he's going to link play. If he plays with Højlund, it can create space for Rasmus as well. So, again, like I'm saying, he's going to be an attacking nucleus. He will benefit a lot of the players around him. In terms of pressing and counter-pressing, really important, as we've seen. It's been relentless, and I think we've hunted quite well in packs, especially the front kind of 5 hexagon shape that we've seen. I think it's been really, really effective, and we're getting turnovers quite a lot. So that side of the thing, I think we've been good. You know, you've seen these kind of tactical triggers, when to go, when not to, a focus on counter-pressing immediately after losing the ball, and obviously doing it to kind of prevent counter-attacks, which we can still work on. I think defending transitions we're not great at, but you look at Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, for example, they were great at the way they hunted players down, and they can play that high line because they had Van Dijk and Matip, or Van Dijk and Kanate, who can push right up. The wingers, Trent and Robertson, would push right up, and then they'd have rotations. So actually systematically, and someone like Firmino is similar to Xerxes. You know, you can see comparisons there. Although the last thing I want to do is make a comparison to Liverpool, so let's just move on. Moving on to the wing backs, I think another issue with them last season, they would never commit to the press. Wan-Bissaka was a bit here, neither here or there. Same thing with Dalot at times. So then that's where the gap's created, because you've got a back line that are like that and a front that are trying to press. Look at the gap in between my hands. So tactical tweaks needed, but I'm fascinated to see how we set up. Now, what surprises may be in store for this season? I'm sure it's another question that's on a lot of people's minds, because last season, had you had said we were going to have, 60 plus injuries, all this outburst about Ratcliffe and blah, 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 and just the utter list of nonsense things that we had to deal with, people would have said, not a chance that happens, but it did. So we never know. Honestly, you can never take it for granted, just having players fit. Look, I think one of the surprises we may have, which is a good surprise, Ahmad has to start. I think he's been phenomenal in pre-season. He was really good towards the back end of last season, and he's pushing for that place now. There's no two ways about it. Then you have the situation with Garnacho and Rashford. Who starts out of them? Because Garnacho equally, I think Garnacho should start. I think it should be Garnacho and Ahmad. But we know the politics from Man United. We know Rashford's there. If he can go back into the form that he showed in Ten Hag's first season, then you're like, okay, well, he deserves to be on there. But that's still a big question mark over Marcus. So we'll have to see how that unfolds. The defensive midfielder has a massive impact. So if we don't get Ugarte and we have to pivot, which it seems like we're going to have to, you have to get that profile right. And if we do, then you may see a lot more of a balanced midfield, even if we bring in someone like a Sanderberg. I think Sanderberg, Mainu, and Bruno is much more balanced than having Casemiro in there, whose legs have just completely gone. I mentioned before about De Ligt as a surprise. If he comes in, would help the back line. Mazraoui, if he comes in as a surprise signing, well, it won't be a surprise signing because people are also expecting that as well, but it's very in the balance. If he comes in, I believe it'd be much more competent in the attacking sense, and obviously offers a completely different profile to Wan-Bissaka. And then Onana's openly spoken about taking more risks, and in general, high risk, high reward is what we want, but we don't know. So it is a surprise. How will certain players complement each other on the pitch when everyone is fit and available? Xerxes, I'm not going to go into much depth about, because I've already spoken about him being a nucleus for greedy strikers. Ahmad, you saw bits last season. Him and Bruno Fernandes together have a fantastic combination. I think this season you will see a relationship start to blossom. Like similar to Ødegaard and Saka. I think that them two can both have a relationship like that. Rashford and Shaw back together if Shaw can stay fit. If he can't stay fit, maybe Amas comes in and kind of rockets into that position, because we haven't really got any other options at the minute. So maybe this is where Amas will take his chance. That could also go in the surprise category. Kobbie Mainoo needs a ball winner next to him. We can focus on his game and he's not being dragged into spaces to try cover it. And Yoro's pace, physicality, ability to defend 1v1, I've already spoken about. But that is going to complement Lisandro Martinez. I think Lisandro's much better on the ball, playing those line-breaking passes. He's much more composed, I would say, receiving it under pressure. He's a warrior. He's good at anticipation. He's good at, kind of space defending as well. So both have individual qualities. I think them two together could work really, really well, like Varane and Lisandro did. But we're going to have to wait 3 months to see that partnership. So, Johnny Evans, you're back in the line, son. And likewise with Andre Onana, pushing up, the defensive line pushing up to make the team compact and contain the other side. That's hopefully what we're aiming to achieve. But if we don't have players playing together on a consistent basis, we are never, ever going to achieve this. And it will be the coach who gets it in the neck for it. And I think the way it's going at the minute, if it continues this bad luck at the start of the season, they might pull the trigger on Erik ten Hag. I'm hoping it doesn't happen. I hope he gets a fair crack on the whip. Now he has this new structure above him, and he's, I hope we get some more players in, and then we can honestly assess him for a full season. Do that, and I'll be happy. But it could be a bit of a bumpy ride at the start. So finally, how will the starting 11 look, at least for the start of the season? I believe Onana is going to start in net, Diego Dalot, Maguire, Lissandro, and Shaw. Now, I know these guys aren't available for the Community Shield, but I would at least expect them to be ready for the start of the season. And that's what I think the back line is going to be. Midfield, I don't think we get a 6 in probably until the end of the window. So I think it's going to be Casemiro, unfortunately, Mainu, and Mason Mount. I think it's going to be in there. Xerxes isn't ready to start, so I think we're going to deploy the false 9 system again. I think it's going to be Bruno Fernandes or Sancho in there, and I think our wingers are going to be Garnacho and Rashford, because I think Ten Hag puts a lot of faith and trust in players, and they were the 2 wingers who played a lot of minutes last season. So I think Ahmad deserves to start. I've already touched on that, but I think if I'm putting myself in Ten Hag's head, he's going to start Garnacho on the right. He won't drop Garnacho, and we know the situation with Rashford as well. So at least he's got a little bit of a headache in that sense, where you've got players pushing for places, and competition breeds success. We've always said that. In terms of some of the individuals who I haven't really mentioned, Xerxes, slow burner, will get into the team. We'll see what impact he has. Hard to say with the other signings because we don't know when they're going to be done. Sancho's another interesting enigma. Ten Hag has gone on record to say he could play across the front line, but wouldn't be as bold to commit that he's going to start against City. So that's why I believe Bruno will be in there. You're never going to drop your captain, are you? And Bruno Fernandes is our best player, so I completely understand that decision. But I think he's going to use Sancho as a kind of utility player. We need someone on the right with his profile, on the left, maybe as a 10 for 45 minutes, which we've seen before against Leicester, or maybe as a false 9. And maybe that's how Sancho's going to get his minutes. And if he can get back into the form that we know, pushes that price up, and eventually we might get a sale for him, maybe even in this window from a PSG, who knows. So there's a lot of things relying on good performances, and I just hope they can all bring it together and connect it for this new season, because I'm very excited. I think the 2 signings we made are good. I don't think there's been a lot of teams that have been extremely active in the market, so it's not like loads of other people have got a foothold ahead of us. Just the concerning thing is we're still starting the season with some of the players who I thought may have been gone by now, like Casemiro. That's the biggest concern for me, the midfield. And that was getting turned over time after time after time after time. So if that same player is still in there, what's the difference going to be? Especially if we have other injuries around it. But Premier League football is back. You know that hangover meme where we're back, baby. We are back. I'm so excited to see United. I can't wait to get back at Old Trafford. Just as a kind of summary, an overall summary, I feel positive in the attacking part of the pitch. I think we're going to score quite a lot of goals. Midfield's going to get ran through again. Defensive flair, we could be better, but we need players on the pitch. If Yoro comes back in there, we signed De Ligt. You've got Lissandro who stayed fit, Shaw who stayed fit, and Dalot. I think that's a good, solid back line, but there will be some teething issues at the start. So there could be some end-to-end games, like your Wolves, for example, 4-3. I think we could see a few of them this season. But hopefully not, because I would rather win 3 or 4-0 and keep a clean sheet. But let me know what you guys think. How do you see this season going for Manchester United? Leave your predictions for where we finish in the comment section. Will we win a trophy? Will Ten Hag stay for the full season? What do you make of the new signings? And what do you think our style of play is going to be? I would love to hear your opinions. So make sure you get them in. Subscribe to the channel. Smash like in the video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.